5 terrifying horror stories about the creature that lives under your bed. 1. A ritual cleansing. I always thought that stories about monsters under the bed were just childish tales meant to keep kids in line. That was until I moved into my new apartment, a cozy 1-bedroom on the outskirts of town. Everything was fine at first, but then strange things began to happen. It all started one eerie night when I woke up to an odd scraping sound coming from beneath my bed. At first, I dismissed it as a figment of my imagination, a side effect of the stress from my new job. But the noise persisted night after night, growing louder and more unsettling. I began to lose sleep, my nerves fraying as my imagination ran wild. I couldn't take it any longer. I needed to confront whatever was lurking beneath my bed. One fateful night, I gathered my courage and crouched down, peering under the bed. My heart pounded as I saw something that defied all logic. Long, hairy, sinewy arms stretched out from the darkness below. The fingers ended in sharp, claw-like nails that scraped against the floor. Fear paralyzed me as I watched those grotesque limbs writhing and searching for something. I knew I had to get out of there, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. Then, from the shadows, a pair of gleaming, malevolent eyes locked onto mine. A guttural growl filled the room, sending chills down my spine. The creature was real, and it was living under my bed. I stumbled back, my heart racing, and rushed to turn on the lights. But as the room flooded with illumination, the arms and the eyes retreated back into the darkness under the bed, leaving me to question my sanity. What had I just witnessed? I tried to convince myself that it was a nightmare, a trick of the mind, but deep down, I knew it was all too real. Desperation set in as I frantically searched the internet for any information on the creature that lived under my bed. I stumbled upon an old, cryptic forum with stories eerily similar to my own. People had experienced the same haunting presence, the same long, hairy arms, and the same malevolent gaze. One post mentioned a way to ward off the creature, a ritual involving salt and sage. I was willing to try anything at that point. Armed with salt and a bundle of sage, I stood in front of my bed, trembling with fear. I recited the incantation I had found, feeling foolish as I did so. But to my astonishment, the room grew still, and the scraping noises ceased. I had seemingly banished the creature, at least for the time being, but the terror of that night haunted me. I couldn't sleep without the lights on, and every creak of the floorboard sent shivers down my spine. I lived in constant fear of the creature returning. As the weeks turned into months, my life spiraled into a never-ending nightmare. I had become a prisoner in my own home, and the creature under my bed had become an ever-present threat. I knew I couldn't go on like this, but I was trapped in a battle against a terror that defied reason. To this day, I still live with the knowledge that something unspeakable lurks beneath my bed, waiting for its chance to strike. The long, hairy arms and the malevolent eyes haunt my dreams, a reminder of the nightmarish reality that I can never escape. The horror stories about the creature under your bed are true, and I am living proof of their terrifying existence. 2. The home of nightmares. My life was normal once, filled with the mundane routines of work and daily chores. That was until I moved into the old, creaky house on Elm Street. It was a charming place, so I thought, until the first night when I heard it, the tapping. At first, I dismissed the sound as a byproduct of an aging house, just the echoes of the wind or the settling of timbers. But as nights turned into weeks, the tapping grew louder and more persistent. It was unmistakable, sharp, rhythmic, like bony fingers lightly drumming on the walls of my bedroom. I couldn't ignore it any longer. It wasn't coming from outside. It was as if something was trapped within the walls, trying to communicate with me. Panic welled up inside me as I tried to rationalize the source of this eerie sound. Maybe it was a plumbing issue or rodents scuttling behind the drywall, but deep down, I knew it was something far more sinister. One sleepless night, driven by both curiosity and fear, I decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, I ventured into the basement, hoping to find the source of the tapping. The old wooden stairs creaked under my weight, adding an eerie soundtrack to my journey into the unknown. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I felt a sudden drop in temperature, a chill that crept into my bones. The basement was dark, illuminated only by the beam of my flashlight. Cobwebs clung to the corners, and the air was heavy with a scent of dampness. Then, I heard it again, the tapping, now louder and more pronounced. It seemed to be coming from the walls themselves. I followed the sound, my heart pounding with each step. They had led me to a small, forgotten room in the basement, one I had never noticed before. The room was filled with old, dusty furniture, a jumble of discarded relics from years gone by. But what caught my attention was a trapdoor set into the floor. The tapping was coming from beneath it. With trembling hands, I lifted the trapdoor, revealing a narrow, dark passageway leading further underground. The tapping grew louder, now echoing in my ears like a drumbeat of dread. Without thinking, I descended into the unknown. The tunnel twisted and turned, its walls lined with strange symbols and markings that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The air grew colder, and I felt a presence, something malevolent, lurking in the shadows. I emerged into a small, cavernous chamber dimly lit by an eerie, flickering glow, and there, in the corner, I saw it. A grotesque, elongated creature with pallid, clammy skin, its long, bony fingers tapping on the walls. Its eyes were pools of darkness, devoid of any humanity, and it grinned at me with a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The creature's tapping grew deafening, echoing in my mind until I thought I would go mad. It reached out towards me with its long, spindly fingers, and I knew that I was trapped, that this creature had been here long before me, waiting to claim its next victim. I woke up in my bed, drenched in sweat, convinced it had all been a nightmare. But as I glanced at the wall beside me, I saw it, the faint remnants of tapping, as if something was still trying to break through from the other side. From that day on, the tapping continued, a sinister reminder that something malevolent lived within the walls of my house. I couldn't escape it, no matter how hard I tried. The creature's presence haunted my every moment, a relentless, insidious force that had taken hold of my life. I knew then that I would never find peace until I uncovered the truth about the creature that lived under my bed, tapping on the walls, and the dark secrets that lay hidden within my new home. 3. My own personal portal to hell. My life had taken an unexpected turn when I moved into the century-old Victorian house on Ravenwood Avenue. Its historic charm and ornate architecture had drawn me in, and the rent was too good to pass up. Little did I know that beneath its elegant facade lay a terrifying secret. The first inkling that something was amiss came on the third night. I was lying in bed, tossing and turning as I struggled to sleep when I heard it. A low, guttural growl. It was as if the very walls of my bedroom were alive with a malevolent energy. The sound seemed to emanate from below, from the very underside of my bed. At first, I told myself it was a trick of my imagination, a product of exhaustion and stress from the move, but the growling persisted, growing louder and more menacing with each passing night. Sleep became a distant memory as the fear of what lurked beneath my bed consumed my thoughts. One night, unable to bear it any longer, I mustered the courage to peer under the bed. What I saw froze the blood in my veins. A pair of eyes, glowing a sickly yellow in the dimness, stared back at me. They were not human eyes, they were the eyes of a predator, filled with malice and hunger. I recoiled in terror as a gnarled, cold hand shot out from the darkness, grasping the underside of the bed frame. The creature's fingers were long and skeletal, ending in razor-sharp talons that scraped against the wooden floor. It was real, and it was here, hidden beneath my bed. I scrambled out of the room, my heart pounding, and slammed the door behind me. The growling and scratching grew more frenzied, a symphony of terror that echoed through the house. I was trapped with a monster lurking just inches below me. Desperation drove me to research, to uncover any information that might explain the creature beneath my bed. Hours turned into days as I delved into obscure texts and whispered legends. I learned of ancient entities that dwelled beneath the earth, feeding on the fear and suffering of those who dared to disturb them. They were known by many names, but one thing was clear: they were nearly impossible to banish. Armed with newfound knowledge, I attempted rituals and incantations, but the creature only grew more agitated. It clawed at the underside of the bed, its relentless assault vibrating through the entire house. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. Weeks turned into months, and my life became a waking hell. I couldn't sleep, couldn't escape the ever-present fear that the creature would break free from its prison and claim me as its prey. Friends and family distanced themselves from me, convinced I had lost my sanity. One fateful night, as I lay on my bed, exhausted and defeated, I felt the bed frame shake violently. The creature's growling had reached a deafening crescendo. I knew that it was no longer content to stay hidden. With a sickening lurch, the bed was yanked from beneath me, and I fell into the darkness below. I found myself in a nightmarish underworld, surrounded by writhing, shadowy figures, all bearing the same malevolent yellow eyes. They closed in on me, their talon fingers reaching out, and I knew that my fate was sealed. As I write this, I am a prisoner in this sinister realm, tormented by the creatures that once dwelled beneath my bed. They feed on my fear and despair, and I can feel my sanity slipping away. My only hope is that my story serves as a warning to others. Beware the terror that may lurk beneath your bed, for once it awakens, there is no escape. 4 claimed. In the dimly lit apartment I called home, the dread began with whispers, a soft, sinister murmur that danced on the edges of my consciousness. It wasn't long before those whispers transformed into screams that echoed through my mind, tormenting my very soul. And they all seemed to originate from one sinister source, the creature that lived beneath my bed. The apartment complex was far from glamorous, a decrepit building with peeling wallpaper and flickering lights, but it was all I could afford at the time, and I had no choice but to make the best of it. Little did I know that my decision would lead me to a living nightmare. The first sign of trouble came during my second night there. I was settling into bed, the soft embrace of sleep beckoning me, when I heard it, a hushed, sibilant voice that seemed to emerge from the darkness below. I strained to make out the words, but they were incomprehensible, a maddening, eldritch tone that sent shivers down my spine. Terrified but convinced it was my imagination, I dismissed the whispers as mere figments of a tired mind. But the following night, they returned with a vengeance, louder and more menacing. It was as if some malevolent presence had taken residence beneath my bed, a presence that reveled in my terror. I decided to confront the source of my torment. Armed with a flashlight, I crouched down and peered under the bed. The beam of light revealed nothing but shadows and dust. I was about to retreat, convinced that I had lost my mind, when the whisper suddenly coalesced into distinct words. "Come closer," they hissed, their tone dripping with malice. "Join us in the darkness." I recoiled in terror, my heart pounding like a drum. Those weren't mere whispers, they were an invitation to madness. But I couldn't tear myself away. The sinister words continued to weave their insidious spell. Night after night, I lay in bed, a prisoner to the haunting whispers that emanated from beneath. They spoke of unspeakable horrors of suffering and despair, of a world beyond the confines of reality. Sleep became a distant memory as the screams and whispers invaded my every waking moment. The creature's influence extended beyond the realm of sound. I began to see grotesque, shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my vision, their elongated limbs and empty eyes sending me spiraling into madness. My once peaceful apartment had become a nightmarish hellscape. Desperation gripped me, and I turned to research, seeking answers to the sinister entity that had taken hold of my life. I uncovered ancient tomes and occult rituals, all pointing to a horrifying truth. The creature beneath my bed was a gateway to a malevolent dimension, a realm of eternal torment. With trembling hands, I attempted to seal the portal, to banish the creature and its haunting whispers, but my efforts only seemed to anger it. The screams grew louder, more agonized, as if the very fabric of reality was tearing apart. One night, as I lay in bed, the whispers reached a deafening crescendo. The room itself seemed to warp and contort, as if reality itself was unraveling. And then, with a blinding flash of light and a deafening roar, I was pulled into the abyss. I found myself in a realm of perpetual darkness, surrounded by tormented souls, their agonized screams drowning out all thought. The creature that had haunted my life stood before me, its eyes filled with malevolent glee. It was then that I realized the horrifying truth. I had become one of them, a prisoner in a nightmarish dimension, forever tormented by the haunting whispers and screams that had once haunted my apartment. The creature had claimed me, body and soul, and there was no escape from the relentless torment that now defined my existence. 5. Don't live in a cabin. My life was ordinary until I moved into the secluded cabin deep within the woods. It was meant to be a peaceful retreat, a place to escape the noise of the city and find solace in nature. Little did I know that solitude would lead me to a horrifying encounter with a creature that lived beneath my bed. The cabin, though charming, had an eerie aura about it. The dense forest that surrounded it cast long shadows, and the nights were eerily silent, save for the occasional rustling of leaves. On the third night of my stay, that silence was shattered. As I lay in bed, wrapped in blankets, the room was bathed in a pale moonlight that filtered through the cabin's windows. That's when I heard it, an ominous, rumbling growl that seemed to resonate from below, as if the very earth itself were angry. My heart raced, and I strained to identify the source of the sound. The growl grew louder, reverberating through the room, and then I felt it. A subtle but unmistakable vibration beneath the bed. My mind raced with possibilities. Was it an earthquake? Or perhaps some underground river flowing beneath the cabin? But as the minutes passed, the vibration grew more pronounced, rhythmic, as if something massive were moving beneath the cabin floor. My fear intensified as the room was plunged into darkness, the moonlight extinguished by an unseen force. And then, emerging from the inky blackness under the bed, I saw it. A colossal, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. A monstrous entity that defied all reason. Its immense form filled the room, its long, sinewy limbs stretching up from the abyss. I was paralyzed with terror, unable to look away from those malevolent eyes that bore into my soul. The massive figure emitted a guttural growl, a sound that seemed to resonate from deep within the earth, shaking the very foundation of the cabin. In a desperate bid for survival, I scrambled out of bed and fumbled for a flashlight. When the beam of light pierced the darkness, the creature let out a deafening roar, its immense form recoiling from the light. I caught a glimpse of its grotesque, elongated limbs and the jagged maw filled with sharp teeth. Terrified but determined, I stumbled towards the cabin's front door, my heart pounding in my chest. The creature's growls and roars pursued me, echoing through the woods as I fled into the night. I had escaped the cabin, but the encounter had left an indelible mark on my psyche. As the days turned into weeks, I sought answers about the creature that had terrorized me. Local legends spoke of a malevolent entity that dwelled beneath the woods, a guardian of the ancient, cursed land. It was said that those who ventured too close to its domain risked encountering the massive, dark figure that lived beneath the earth. Haunted by my experience, I never returned to the cabin. The memory of that colossal, nightmarish entity and the earth-shaking growls that accompanied it still lingered in my nightmares. The creature under my bed was a harbinger of terror, a reminder that in the most remote places horrors beyond imagination could lurk just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. Which story caught your attention the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay safe. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Check out my website in the description below to see what I'm writing. And just below there are some suggestions related to what we talked about today. Peace.